He is a patriot, and his name is Hunter Rivett. Hunter, welcome back to the program, sir.
Good morning, Paul. How are you, sir?
I'm doing good. Hunter, tell us a little bit about, first of all, I understand that this semester you're an intern, interning with Conduit for Commerce. Is that correct?
That is correct. I'm having a great time. A little while ago in the summer, Josh and Brenda met with me and asked if I'd like to get on board and help out with the various oiling and the tuning of the Great Liberty machine. And I have been doing that right now. I'm looking into reports on bonds and taxation issues in the state, which you have spoke at length about, which are really absolutely, it's just mesmerizing how Arkansas likes to spend money and get in debt.
So you are, okay, so you said you're doing some research on bonds. So, I mean, that's not exactly, that doesn't sound like a very explosive or, doesn't sound like a very interesting topic. But, it's one of the ways, I think, that government actually, kind of uses covert debt, in order to maybe get things that they want that they can't really afford. What are your thoughts on that?
Paul, you're exactly right. And unfortunately, bonds, it's not a sexy issue. It's not like free speech or the Second Amendment. It doesn't get people riled up. But arguably, it's one of the most important because you're exactly right. Government will put debt upon the taxpayers. And we're talking millions of dollars. Just this last year, if you include Benton and Washington County together, over $1 billion in new debt to finance sidewalks, dog parks, new fire station helmets, all sorts of things. And voters happily support it. In the last Springdale bond issue, it passed over 85% of the vote with less than 10% reporting. So those who do vote are happy to vote for it. Now, whether they know what they're voting for or not, I have yet to figure this out in my research. But if you put on the ballot tax increase, or even millage, those have higher probabilities of failing as opposed to bonds, which usually cost more and are more nefarious ways to get people to pay money for the government's wants.
That's that is fascinating, what you just said there. So you have people who don't like tax increases, they don't like millage increases, which are tax increases, but they will vote for bonds. Big government types know this. So I guess then the educational effort should be to try to connect the dots between a bond and a tax increase. Now, I've said on the program before, Hunter, that when you take out these bonds and you do this irresponsible debt, that it is a future tax increase, and a lot of times, because when you can't pay your debt, they're going to come back to the citizens, and then they really will ask for that tax increase. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, you're exactly right. Let's take, for instance, let's cover all parts of your question. The first is some of the greatest bond issuing and indebtedness has happened at the hands of our great Republican supermajority. Take, for instance, the bonds that were issued to Big River Steel and other companies like Lockheed Martin and Chinadelphia. In the House, the bond issuing for Big River Steel passed 98-0.
Wow.
More fight was put up in the Senate, but Republicans are happy to issue millions. We're talking billions in future tax increases, but no one wants to raise a hand. No one wants to say anything. And this is definitely what it is. And I think one of the lure with bonds is, we're not paying for it right now. We'll wait 10 years. Okay, but with interest and everything, that's going to be a more substantial burden upon the taxpayer. And it always comes out in usually, 1 to 2% increase in sales tax, an increase in property taxes or millage. The government money does not grow from trees. And if they want to grow government, we, the people, are going to have to pay for it.
Didn't we default on a bunch of bonds back in the 30s, and basically the state of Arkansas went bankrupt?
Yes, during the Great Depression, Arkansas, and it's funny, you'll hear economists say, oh, during the Great Depression, we needed to raise taxes, we needed to have more government spending. Arkansas was one of those states that tried to do a socialist model. During the late 20s and the early 30s, Arkansas taxed at some of its highest rates and spent at some of its highest rates compared to earlier. This was a complete failure. They defaulted on many. They had to get bailed out by the federal government, which is still, people's taxpayer dollars. And business would choose not to come to the state for 30, 40 years afterwards because it was not a good economic environment. If the government is defaulting on this, why would we want to start a business here? This is one of the biggest problems with African nations, is that they have such corrupt and mismanaged governments that businesses won't start there. And it's unfortunate that we have to compare Arkansas to a third world country, but the way that our government is spending and taxing us, it's comparable, unfortunately.
Wow. And it just kind of dawned on me, the situation with that default in the 30s, if you're saying that then businesses didn't want to locate here because things were so bad, I mean, we wonder why. Some people ask the question, how did Arkansas's government get so big and so corrupt, and yet the states around us that really essentially have the same, in a lot of ways, the same, geographic location generally, but they're so much wealthier than us, Hunter.
Yes.
So it may be because of, just mismanagement and what happened in the 30s we're still recovering from.
We are still recovering from it. As far as geography goes, I understand, Paul, you are a scholar because you like to talk about geography, and which is really the key for some place to grow economically. I would argue, other than perhaps Missouri and Louisiana, Arkansas is uniquely blessed and gifted with its geographical location. It really has a middleman as far as eastern-western traffic goes, with the Arkansas River, with the interstates. We have great people here who like to work, who are willing to work, but for some reason, our government continues to do us dirty, and whether it be through mismanaged loans, extravagant taxes, government spending, businesses will not come here, and other states are better business environments. We see it in multiple reports on how business-friendly Arkansas is a state, and it's never above 40. It's always in the bottom rung. I wish we could fix that, but I don't think our current administration, it's funny, I don't think our supermajorities of our great conservative Republicans are going to fix that anytime soon.
Yeah, well, they'll tell you, well, it just, it takes a long time. It takes a long time to turn this aircraft carrier around. Well, tell that to President Donald Trump. I mean, here's a guy who has made really sharp turns, and he's done it faster than I thought he would. He's done it faster than even his supporters thought he would. What he has accomplished, I mean, he has shown what a leader can do, whether it's the North Korea situation, whether it, and I know that's not resolved yet, but whether it's the North Korea situation, whether it's moving the embassy in Jerusalem, the tax, cuts, even the Supreme Court justices. I mean, 2 Supreme Court justices, and it could be 3, it could be 4, and it's amazing what somebody who's actually committed to getting an agenda done for the folks, how fast it can happen, but you got to be willing to take the hits. I don't think we have enough folks who are willing to take the hits and stand up to the media.
You're exactly right. Let's go back. Let's talk about our great president, Donald Trump. We know what Asa thinks about Donald Trump. During the campaign, he hit him hard. He said this is a freak. This is a Trump train, Trump show. We don't have leadership on par with President Donald Trump. Asa is subpar. This is quite clear. Now, imagine how Arkansas would do if they had an economic policy like that with Donald Trump. If it had a leadership policy like that of Donald Trump, Trump understood that you've got to cut regulation. We've got more regulation than any other industry. You've got to cut taxes, one of the greatest tax cuts in history. And you've got to have someone who's willing to negotiate. Trump, he talked that up a bunch bunch, and the media, as we're seeing now, they attack them. Oh, what do you have, a magic wand, Well, I mean, quite literally, yes. Donald Trump is a business maker. He's calling people every day. He's making 300 phone calls a day. He's talking to business leaders. What can we do to get you here? Asa takes off his tie, sits down on his rear, and says, well, we have China, so we'll sell out to China. We'll get a couple paper companies. We'll get 10 jobs here or there. That's good enough for my people. He doesn't care. He's apathetic about his state. And, I mean, me and you have talked about this, and I think some other people in circles have talked about this. Asa is just using Arkansas as a stepping stool. I don't know if he truly cares about the economy, the business, the people of the state. Actions speak louder than words.
We're talking with Hunter Rivett. Now, Hunter, I want you to tell me about you're also a fellow with the Charles Koch Institute. What have you done with them so far this semester?
That's right. Well, that has just begun. We've been doing this for a month or just over a month. And right now we're just doing research and writing and more of a colloquium amongst us, just speaking about these libertarian ideas, speaking about these pro-business, pro-freedom ideas, which seem incredibly novel to someone like me and you, but that the greater population perhaps does not buy into. So we are reading some of the greats and writing and talking about Thomas Sowell, Frederick Bastiat, Charles Koch himself, some of these great libertarian thinkers who wanted business to succeed, wanted the American people to succeed, wanted true Americana, true patriotism.
With Frederick, you mentioned Frederick Bastiat, and I'm particularly fond of his definition of legal plunder.
Yes.
And where he talks about how, the government is able basically to do things that if you and I were to do, it would be illegal. But they actually, they do things under the business can do it, the government can do things, and because they've got the guns and because it's the law, they're able to get by with a lot more than they should.
100%. I mean, what's the difference between a highway robber and the government? After the highway robber steals from you, that's it. He's not coming back, and you have a chance to defend yourself from that highway robber. But the government comes back every time, and you can't defend yourself from the government. So I would compare, just as Bastiat did, to legal plunder. That's exactly what it is. And for some reason, we have people saying you must be stolen from. You must give the government your money for the greater good. This is not true. At least to the levels we have now. Can we have a debate about that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I absolutely agree. I'm trying to see here. I wanted to look up a quote while I have you, with the legal plunder, but I don't think my computer's not working. But anyway, Hunter, it's been great to have you on. We're out of time. I really appreciate it. Intern with Conduit for Commerce, also fellow with the Koch Institute, and I appreciate all the work you're doing. The conversation. It's always great to have you on, Hunter.
I appreciate you, Paul. I'll talk to you later.